Hi boys and girls, this is Mrs. Walker and I teach at Paul Morton Elementary and also at Grant Wood. Today we're going to be learning about, and hopefully you've already watched a little video about him, about Henri Matisse and his famous paper cutouts, okay? So we're going to be making our own paper cutouts, and our vocabulary for today is that we're going to be using shapes, specifically organic shapes, but I also want you to know the difference between organic and geometric, okay? And so we hopefully have already talked about this. If we haven't, organic shapes are things that you would find in nature, and geometric shapes are things that you've probably heard about in math class, okay? So I'm going to set these aside now, and we'll get to these in just a minute. Now, the materials you're going to need are a big strip of paper and also an assortment of colored paper. We're going to start with a black paper like this, and then you're just going to get an assortment of colors, okay? So your first job is to figure out what colors or shapes, what bigger shapes you want to put behind the smaller ones. And so I'm just going to pick 3 colors here. I kind of like the red, the green, and the blue, okay? So set your others aside. These are going to be for the next layer, for the top layer. And you can cut these all separately, but I'm actually going to cut them together because I want some similar shapes, okay? And I'm feeling like I kind of want to do something more triangular, so I think I'm going to cut them like this. Okay, and then just try some shapes and see what you think. So this is kind of like a triangle, but I decided to make it a curve. Almost ends up looking like an arrow. And I think I'm going to place these just kind of pointing different directions on here. Okay, so there's one of my underneath shapes. I'm going to have some triangular shapes. Okay, and then you could do more with that if you want to. I think I don't know, I think I kind of like this curved shape I'm seeing here, so maybe I'll just cut a curve. Okay, and then think about places where you might put those. Ooh, I just see another one that I like. What if I did? I actually see a cool shape that's just being created by the shapes I've already cut out. So you're going to just experiment around here. I kind of feel like making one that's got more of a curve to it than that last one. So this one has all the sides curved. Instead of putting, I'm going to like put them on different colors, so maybe red on blue, and blue on green, green on, maybe flip that one over. So wait until you kind of look at your composition here. You want to have balance. I'm trying to balance it out, so I have some red here and some there. Another thing that you can do is you can create shapes that are that have symmetry. So let's see, I'm going to try this orange one. So if I want something with symmetry, that means I'm going to need to fold this in half, kind of like we did, do you remember, if you might remember in 3rd grade we did butterflies where we printed with symmetry. If you fold it in half and you cut out a shape from the, so if I cut out a shape, it will have symmetry, right? Because you can see that each side is going to be the same, okay? And you can put that somewhere in there, okay? Another thing, these 2 vocabulary words that we were going to talk about, this shape that I just cut out, this is the positive shape, okay? And the space that I cut it out of, if I open this up, you'll see I actually have, oops, you can't really see this one, can you? I didn't realize my camera was, let me move this down. So here's the positive shape, and this is the very same shape, only it is called the negative shape because it's the space that's open here creates the same shape. So you can put this one, you can actually use this negative space on here, and look at how it creates different shapes when you place it on there. You can use your positive shape on there, like so. This one I might even turn around. I don't know, I'm not even sure if I'm not sure if I wanted to use that one or not. Sometimes I like the negative space better if I use it like this and it doesn't have a lot going on underneath it. I'm going to hold that aside for now. Actually, I'm going to set this one aside for now too, because I want to show you a couple other things. So one other thing you could try, let's say you, like I got 2 for 1 there because I folded the, or I didn't, I got 3 for 1 actually, because I laid my 3 different pieces of paper together when I cut that out. But if I just want 2 of something, folding this in half, now I'm not going to worry about the fold line because I actually want 2 separate ones. I'm going to actually do some swirls. Now, if you do a swirl and you just cut around like I'm doing, this will not have any negative space, right? Because I haven't cut anything out. I just cut into it. See how it doesn't have any negative space? But if I go and cut along those same lines again, so I'm going to actually cut out, I'm going to follow my same lines. I'm going to go right down the middle of that shape, like this. I'm going to follow that around, and what will happen is there's a piece here that I'm going to cut out, and that'll give me a negative space, and it'll also give me a much more defined swirl, if you will. But you got to be sure that you clip it apart. So I made sure that in the middle there that I actually clipped it apart. So now I have the negative space and I have the positive space, which I'm going to actually use. This one, you can either use it like this, very cool, or if you want to make it into 2 more of those, all you have to do is side edge. Make sure you cut off that fold now. So if I leave the fold, it's one piece, but if I cut through, I just cut through the fold right there. If you cut through the fold, you'll have 2 separate pieces. So now I have 2 bigger curly cues, if you will, spirals, and I have 2 small ones. Maybe I'll only use 3 because I want to keep this kind of balanced. Okay, I'm really liking this so far. Now, I still have 2 pieces of paper I haven't used at all. And I'm not even sure if I'm going to use these shapes. So you may end up with some extra shapes. You can share those with a neighbor. You can just keep them to the side because you never know, you might change your mind later. But if you do have paper like this that you don't use at all, if I don't end up using these, I'm just going to give those back to, we're going to put them in the sanitizing bin so that someone else can use them on a different day. Okay? So once you have this planned out, and I'm not completely done, I'm going to actually do another layer. I want to make some like star type shapes. Now I think I want 4 this time, so I'm going to actually fold this twice, which will give me, instead of 2, it's going to double the 2 and make it 4. And I'm going to make some star-like shapes. Now I don't really need it to be a real star. I just want it to be something with spiky corners because I've got all the round shapes here. So I'm going to take this and just place those. There should be 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cool. And then let's see, what other shape? Look at all this space I've got. I could make 4 more, maybe teardrops. Maybe I want to make a teardrop or something. Ooh, that's kind of got a point there. I don't want that to be. Anyway, experiment around. You can make so many things. Now, the trickiest thing I'm going to have to do is once I've got all these on here, the next step is to glue them down. And remember, we don't have a lot of time today, so you're going to have to work kind of quickly getting your shapes cut out, and then once you know where you want them, you're going to have to actually slide them off and start with the bottom ones. So I know I started with the biggest pieces. I started with this one, so I'm going to put glue on that one and stick it down. And you don't want to waste too much time though with the composition of it, or you won't even get yours stuck down, and you know what happens to loose pieces, right? Yeah, they get lost, and we don't want that, especially if you have some that you're really loving and that you really can see working well with your composition. So then my next layer was these. They're kind of a medium size shape, which is kind of what's going to happen. You want to start with your bigger shapes first and work your way down to your smaller shapes. On the top layer or sprinkled around. The smaller shapes look better if you do that with them. Okay? And then lastly, ooh, I don't think I actually did this, but the very last thing you want to do is check to make sure that you have your name and class code on the back. I've been getting some art turned in without that, and you know, in order to get credit for the art that you're doing, you do have to put your name on it, and class code helps Mrs. Walker out. I do need you to do that for me to help me out. Make sure that's on there, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and finish with this one, and I'll do the rest later. I'll show you how it turns out here in just a minute. Okay. Okay, I'm back, and I wanted to remind you that all of your scraps need to end up in the garbage can. Okay. And any extra paper that you didn't end up using, you need to turn that into the sanitizing bin so that we can save that. Okay. Your final project, when it's complete, we will take a picture of that and upload it to Artsonia so we can put it in your gallery.